Welcome back. This is Newsfile, it's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. My guest in the studio, Rodelyn Imoro Ayana. She is a public interest advocate, has been associated with the Movement for Change. And I'm sure for those of you who have been hooked onto this program for decades, you know that she's not new to this platform. Thank you very much for making time to join us.
Good to be here.
Great.
Again.
Great to have you.
Good morning.
We will have Dr. Theo Echampong, economist and political risk analyst, join us, as usual, from his base in the United Kingdom, where he teaches. Kingsley Amwakwa Buedu is legal practitioner and member Legal Directorate of the New Patriotic Party. This will be his first time on Newsfile. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning to you.
Right.
Good morning to my fellow panelists.
We also have here in the studio Sampi Yale. He's a lawyer. He's president, Professional Forum of the NDC. Formerly, he was ambassador, and he was also the head of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, correct? Thank you for making time to join us. Right.
Can I make a correction?
Please go
As
ahead.
a member of the Alliance for Revolutionary Change.
Alliance for Revolutionary Change that joined the...
That teamed up to support the movement.
The Movement for Change. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that clarification. Right, so let's begin with the very thorny matter of the mass dismissals that have happened in the public sector. You remember that the Chief of Staff issued a letter, and in that letter, he had been instructed to ask all heads of institutions to ensure that persons who were recruited after the 7th, after the 7th of December, was it, should not be allowed to continue in office or to continue their employment. And in consequence to that, you have seen one letter or the other from these public institutions almost every day announcing that all those who have been employed will not be able to be kept. There has been a backlash, but does the government see it that way? So let's begin with Rodelyn. First, you have heard Dr. Bawumia, and we'll be scrolling the comments that Dr. Bawumia has made over the period to you. It's a long letter he wrote to the president, making an appeal to the president to rescind his decision because many people are losing their livelihoods because of that, and it is just not fair. Then Afenyo Marking, the minority leader, also wrote a 3-page letter to the president asking him to reverse the decision because he doesn't think that allowing those people to go to court will be the best approach because the court process can delay and it may take the whole of the term of the president before the matter will be resolved. Yes, Rodelyn.
Good morning to our viewers. Samson, I will say that as a Ghanaian, in my opinion, I would have said that, well, those who were employed are Ghanaians. But looking at the situation and the historical nature that we have when it comes to government change, I don't think that it's unjustifiable, so to speak, because at the end of the day, you ask yourself why a government that was leaving should want to pad agencies with people when it had 8 years to do so and didn't do so. Afenyo Markings and the rest of them are saying that it is not a constitutional thing to do so, that one had to use discretionary powers justifiably and all that. But I am of the view that if you're a government in power for 8 years, you've not been able to create enabling environment for people to get jobs. You've not created the jobs yourself for them to also get into. All that you've done is virtually padding security agencies, creating avenues that did not produce anything, so to speak. Then one starts to ask why you would want to pad when you're leaving, bearing in mind that the situation on the ground is that we don't have the resources, we are broke, and how can a broke country take in so many people? From what I was hearing from the government spokesperson, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, he came out with certain issues that some of them did not even apply. They didn't have any application letters. Some didn't go through the process. Some of them were backdated. These are all acts of criminality. And you cannot...
Hold on. The president actually says that Ghana is a crime scene because of how the economy has been managed, the things he's seeing. But she just referred to Felix Kwakye Ofosu. Let's hear Felix.
But in terms of the substance of the petition, I think we've explained this. That when the transition process began, we noticed these speedy, hurriedly arranged, often highly irregular recruitments into various public agencies. We raised the issue. Indeed, on the very first day of the joint transition meeting, we raised the issue. And you recall that after the meeting, I addressed the media and pointed out that we have this serious concern about the manner in which these appointments are made. We had asked for some dialogue and engagement between our side and the outgoing government side to have an understanding of what exactly is happening. We also thought that because a new government was coming in, it was important that certain decisions are reserved for them to take. Whilst it is true that the tenure of the previous government ended on 6th January, it is also true that it was the incoming government that was going to bear the brunt in terms of remuneration and finding the money to pay these people. So surely they must have a say in how this is done. We requested for meetings, we requested for explanations. We said that they should at least hold on pending some consultation on the matter. They rebuffed it and said that they had the power to do so. And you recall that on 17 December 2024, I issued a statement on behalf of the NDC side of the transition team and indicated that given the frustration we had faced from government and its unwillingness to engage on the matter, and our knowledge of the irregularities that afflict the recruitments going on, we were going to be left with no option than to reverse those decisions pending further inquiry and any other actions that may be taken going forward. So it's not like this has come as a surprise to anybody. We were very clear on our position on the matter.
So you just said him.
So it just goes to buttress the point that there are some irregularities where some of these people, their appointments are concerned. And as such, as a government, and coming into a situation where you find yourself in a broke country and being saddled with this number of people that you have to cater for, it is just right for you to say, look, let's have a look at the way this thing is done. And from what I read, it's like, yes, you can leave, but when the portals are opened, you can reapply. Mm-hmm. And that, for me, is fair deal for everybody. Because we're in this country and we heard so many things. Even after this elections and all, we are hearing of people having to pay monies to be given positions or to be employed. Now, the whole thing is it that they had the qualifications and they paid the monies and were employed? Mm. Or is it that some of them were just given jobs because people took monies to fix them in certain areas? So I am of the view that what the revocation is going to do is to streamline the posting or employment of every Ghanaian. What I know is that when there are vacancies in the public service, it is advertised for everyone to have the opportunity to at least apply for. If you do well, you go for an interview, you follow all the procedures and all that. Did they follow due process? Mm. Did they ask for financial clearance? All these things we need to know. And at the end of it, Were there emergencies? Was it such that it couldn't wait for the next government to take charge and make sure that at least it was on a sound footing to be able to employ those people?
In the public sector, we know that there would have been financial clearance first, and this will be a process, not a day's event. So it's most likely that most of these recruitments, the process would have started long before the elections.
Okay. So granted that maybe it was started long before the elections. Couldn't it have been passed on to the new government? Because there's no rush in that. If you have taken people and you feel that they are qualified for the jobs that you have posted them to, you should be able to give that list to the next government to deal with. Because after all, they are going to be the ones to pay the workers. The remuneration and everything is going to come through them. So I think that the MPP has no case in this situation. We saw what happened in 2017. I think a bunch of people were in military training and they were all sacked. They were actually going through training. And so many other things, so many other people lost their jobs. So at the end of it, these are political positions, most of them. Political positions. And once a change of government comes, yes, you have to go. And when it comes to the other positions within the public sector, one would say that it is always good for one to take one's time, at least make sure that you're getting the right caliber of people. We cannot go and employ probably nurses who have not gone through the system. We cannot go and employ teachers who probably haven't gone through the system just because they have come out. There's so many stories of malfeasance going around because of job selections and stuff. And for me, teaching and nursing are very critical professions in this country. Not too long ago, we heard the president of the Ghana Medical Association complaining about the number of lawsuits that they are having to deal with because of negligence on the part of certain medical personnel. Nurses come under that as well. So it will be just fair that you give them the opportunity to look through and interview these people. They should reapply and just make sure that they are qualified to look after us. That is the main thing. And when you come to teaching, the teachers are the ones that will nurture our young ones and our future generations. We have problems with people telling about drunken teachers, teachers who don't go to work, teachers who do not qualify. They cannot, even they themselves, express themselves, let alone teach our young ones. So in all these things, I think that as a country, we should accept the fact that there is need to look through this revocation. There's need for us to ask them to step aside and to reapply when the portals are opened.
Interesting. Ambassador.
Ordinarily, I would argue that every Ghanaian has a right to employment, as enshrined in the Constitution. However, employment, like you said, is not an event, it's a process. You have to go through a certain... I must say this issue we are dealing with is not new. And none of us have sat down to look at the reasons why this keep on coming and we don't find solution to it. You see, some time ago, I think that now we'll remember that we had Apollo 568, where almost 600 public servants, civil servants were dismissed in this country. They went to court and the court ruled that they should be reinstated. And then our then Prime Minister said, no court can force an employer to work with an employee. So the labor maxim became, no court can force an employee also to work with an employer, vice versa. The historical accounts are many.
The employment contract is not one of servitude. It's not one of master and servant.
Servants, yes.
So the same way that the employee has a right to get up one day and decide that I'm not interested in this job, they can go away.
Yes.
The same way the employer too can terminate, but they will do that within the confines of the contract of employment and the law.
That's what I'm coming to. You see, I was talking about a certain problem that we have not addressed. When we went to the Constitutive Assembly and we wrote the Constitution, we were so happy trying to do what we called a fusion of the executive type of governance and also the Westminster type of governance. You know, the executive type is what is happening in America now. As soon as a new president comes, all the old top guys also go away and he appoints new people. Then in Britain, the situation is a bit different. This is something that we have to understand as a country that is a challenge. Because every time there's a change, this upheavals in the civil service comes up. I have listened to various arguments in relation to this particular issue. And I want to accept your situation that the outgoing government was put on notice at the transitional period, the team that said, you are doing these recruitments. And you see, recruitments are not by themselves the end. They have to be paid. And therefore, an incoming government would have to budget for whatever expenditure it has to take up. We also have not forgotten the famous single spine, which was almost thrust on Professor Mills, and that disorganized our labor cost in this country. So when an incoming government has not budgeted, it becomes a bit difficult for you to come and see this number of new employees, even more than the old employees in place. The incoming government has a duty to do strategic appointments. He finds that something will be good as my Attorney General, then he puts it there. For a good reason, they do such strategic appointments. Now, if the incoming president comes to see that instead of his desire to put something, some PLA is there. You see what I'm talking about? That becomes a little bit of a problem. As for Dr. Bawumia's epistles, I'm used to it.
Just one epistle.
Just one,
and he says he's constrained because he had promised himself that he would give the president time so he would settle in and begin the business of government. But this one, he feels he must say something. Right. And please note, he titled it Appeal.
Yes, I'm coming to that, Samson. I'm saying that I'm used to it because I've listened to him several times and he's coming out with opinions, some very legitimate, some political. Now, Dr. Bawumia, you were the vice president for this country for 8 years. And the people that you had recruited and fostered on the new government, what prevented you from recruiting them, employing them during the 8 years? The appeal, you see, as an appeal, this is accepted or not accepted. But I think the appeal is very, very unfounded in the sense that if you, as the vice president, did not appeal to your president then to do such recruitment, I don't think it lies well in your mouth to assume the role to be doing this appeal to a new president. Besides that, Samson, I have heard some argument that, you say you are going to do 24-hour economy and recruit more people. But did we say that we are going to do 24-hour economy and therefore somebody should do our appointment for us? We have our own strategy and how we are going to manage this country.
Government.
Come again?
Government.
Yes.
It's a continuum.
I understand. But
and the people who have been employed, recruited, are Ghanaians.
I understand.
So what's the problem?
The problem is that if you have not been appointed properly, you cannot be there, just defend yourself that I'm a Ghanaian and therefore I should be there. For example, I'm over 60 years, and if I'm found as a CEO of an organization just because I'm a Ghanaian, I have seen a video or a picture of some immigration officers or some prison officers of some people shorter than the requirement of the police service. I've seen them, very short. Some are, very old people.
That's not what we are talking about here, are we?
Yes.
Because there is no investigation that has been conducted to show that these people were improperly recruited and that any regulations or rules or laws were breached in their recruitment.
Samson, the best thing to do is to halt the process and do an investigation. I heard my very good friends, Ofosu Kwachi, saying that the portal will be reopened for people to now apply or reapply. And if you qualify by the standard that the government will set, you'll be readmitted.
It is state funds that were used for the process. The state funds have to be used again. That's waste. That's like causing financial loss. If the people you are throwing away, you will need the same number of people, and those people have the opportunity to come back.
That is to say that we will need the same number and the same type of people. If we will not need the same short people in our police services, if we will not need the same overaged persons in our services, it cannot be the same number. You understand? So I want every Ghanaian to be given a fair chance to work, no matter...
Shouldn't you join Bawumia sincerely to appeal to the president to withdraw, ask Julius Debra to withdraw this letter and have these people go back? And for those that specifically there is evidence that wrongdoing has been done, they go through the process within the organization. You say Bawumia was vice president. Is it, you should know governance, a lot better than I would do, that the president will not know that this institution is making appointment, this institution is making recruitment. The president will not know all of that. The vice president will not know all of that.
Then there was a problem. Because periodically, the president had to be briefed on labor market statistics and everything. So if the president didn't know this was going on, then we had a problem, So I would want to end by saying that this is not a closed book. The presidency has said that. I think this announcement was made on the very same day they announced the termination, that there's a chance for anybody who thinks he's qualified to apply. And in the discussions, I have not heard that anybody who's an NDC person, who's not an NDC person, should not apply. So anybody who's qualified will be admitted and sent back.
But we know what happens in this country. How the processes most likely will be skewed towards benefiting a particular class because they are within the NDC.
We have sworn by the president out of office to reset this country. And I'm telling you, Samson, you are here. We'll come back to this program again.
The reset should begin with not terminating people who have gone through due process and have been employed.
That is if they went through due process. That is if they went through...
The presumption should be that they went through due process. That should be the first presumption.
But if there's evidence that there are areas where they didn't go...
Have you seen any such evidence?
Of course, the government will not be that naive to just throw people out. No, the government, there should have been some evidence. And even me, from outside, I am seeing that there's evidence, and my sister was right in saying that people were collecting monies.
Those allegations, we have seen them flying on social media, but there's no proof to any one of them yet.
Remember, there was an inquiry in the police service itself about recruitment.
The OSP is investigating that.
Yes, so it is not just allegation, but if even allegation, it has some grounding. That should cause the OSP to do that.
Let me show you this. I'm projecting something John Mahama in opposition said. That's just how many months after he left office. What he put on X, at the time say Twitter, what he put on the May of 26, 2017. This is his handle. It says, bad precedents for our governance. Mass sacking of workers by the MPP government unacceptable. Hashtag One Ghana, hashtag One People. Then he followed up with another one. These workers are all citizens and like all Ghanaians have rights which must be protected. The same hashtag One Ghana, hashtag One People. What changed?
I totally agree with that. The people John Mahama was not talking about are not in the same class of these people who were just lumped after the government has lost power. What John Mahama was talking about was the persons that have been in government for over 4 years. That all of a sudden, I saw a post that about 30,000 workers have been dismissed. So what we're saying is that, listen, you claim to have been employed through a certain process. We don't even have the budget. We are coming to read our very first budget. And you know that these people have not even been put on the payroll. From what I heard, they have not even been put on the payroll. So it becomes an encumbrance on the new government.
That's not entirely accurate because some of them, the letters from their individual institutions revoking the appointment on the back of Julius Debra's letter says they will be paid January and February salaries.
Yes.
So they were on the payroll.
It means that January and February, they were not on the payroll. It means that January and February, they are not on the payroll. If they were on the payroll, they should have been paid. You understand what I'm saying? They should have been paid. But I think that in trying to address this problem, it should not be another trouble of Ghana becoming a victim of politicization.
Are you able to sit back and look at this situation and say, it's been happening, as you said, but John Mahama should look beyond that and say, in my term, I'm resetting Ghana. The reset includes avoiding the political retaliation, which is unhealthy for our people. So let these people stay at their places of work. If there are a handful of them who may have been smuggled in the process, allow the various institutions to go through their own processes and remove them.
Samson, I like your choice of words. It's not that it's a political retaliation. It's not. We are not saying that persons who have been in employment for a long time in the civil service are going to be dismissed. This is a targeted group of those who were recruited after the elections, and who people have not been given appointment, have been given appointment letters, but have not even been cleared for payment.
Well, some PLA, sorry. I'm going to show you a couple of those letters from the individual institutions.
Yes.
On the back of the Julius Debra, letter. And you see that there is a good number of them who were actually employed long before December 7.
And paid.
They were employed long before December 7, and yet they have been affected. So I'm projecting a number of them for you to see from a couple of institutions. And the first one I'm projecting is dated the 2nd of December, 2024. It's from the GRA, offer of appointment. This is to an individual. Offer of appointment, please. We are pleased to inform you that following your success in the recruitment process, you have been offered a permanent appointment as an assistant revenue officer with the Ghana Revenue Authority. This appointment takes effect from 18th of December 2024. Then they give the salary scale and everything. This person was issued the appointment letter on the 2nd of December. We had not gone to elections. And then on the 13th of February 2025, the appointment is being revoked. And I have checked. Groups, reputable groups like KPMG, did the recruitment process for the people at the GRA. Reputable, corporate organizations did the recruitment exercise. And it took a long period, more than 6 months.
As we are saying the same thing. The baseline is this. Those who have been properly recruited have not been locked out. They said, we would open the portal. We as a government, we reserve the right to also investigate some of those things. We have come to the realization that some of these appointments have even been backdated. Have been backdated. I don't think that the John Mahama we know is so vicious that a person who has been properly employed and gone through the system would not be listened to. But where you have intentionally loaded organizations that should be sacrosanct, like our security. I am very worried about the politicization of our security institutions. Now I'm hearing NDC police and NPP police. I'm hearing NDC soldiers and NPP soldiers. This is something all of us need to kill. In the bud, we have to kill it. Because, see, I want to be employed on my own strength, that I qualify for the job I'm going to be employed. I don't think that I want to be employed just because I am a politician. Or my son should be employed because the father is a politician. My son, that is why everybody has a duty to train his children for the future. But if I am being employed, or my son is being employed, just on the basis that Sampiale is a politician, I have everything wrong with that.
Do you realize that some of the teachers and nurses who were also employed are complaining? Some of them say we are NDC members, we are NDC activists, and we got employed as nurses and because we are qualified. And you have done this to us. It's unfair. And you know how difficult it is to go through a job recruitment process in this country.
Yeah, the matter speaks for itself.
There's no guarantee that they will get it.
The matter speaks for itself that even NDC people had been affected. So it means that there's no political victimization. Like my sister said, you need a person of a certain caliber to be teaching children. You saw the adverts on the South African college university that if you want to destroy a country, destroy the education. And that is where you are going to have architects who will develop a house and it will collapse. Nursing and teaching, we don't value them most. But Samson, if we paid attention properly to our teaching professions and nursing professions, this country would be the better for it. No, if a nurse is a nurse, I don't want to walk into a hospital and be rudely treated. It's because the person knows Sampiale as a politician. I don't want to go to any hospital and be given preferential treatment because somebody saw me. No, I want to go to a hospital like I enter an Indian hospital. Nobody knows who am I. And I am. But then they give me the best of service because I'm paying for it. But here, teachers in some villages, 1 week, they have attended school once. That's not all the teachers do. Nurses, they will not be punctual. And so we want to reset this country. And I want to go by the assurance given by the government that all those who were employed properly will be readmitted.
I'm trying to understand what you mean by properly. Either some of these are going through Public Services Commission process.
Yes.
Are you saying the Public Services Commission doesn't know how to do the right things?
Today, as I'm talking to you now, there is a certain these discussions going on between the government and the Public Services Commission. I know of Minister of Interior has set a committee to review all the appointments and see whether they were regularly made. Not to say properly, but regularly made, you understand. I also know that the Ministry for Employment and Jobs is also doing some work. Samson, the new NDC will not do anything that would send this country backwards. We are determined to make sure that everything that we do inures to the benefit of this country. That is our...
There's the expectation that elderly people like yourself, elder statespeople like yourself within the NDC will be nudging the president and say, don't do this. It's not good for the country.
Yes, we are doing that. But we will not advise the president that where there's a glaring irregularity, we will advise the president to...
So this ritual must continue. Whenever there is a change in government, people must lose their jobs because they are suspected to belong to the previous regime that lost power.
You yourself have said some NDC nurses have been affected. Yesterday, somebody came to me, somebody who I know to be a strong NDC person, has been removed from office. I'm an NDC person. I said, that's not the reason why I should go to talk about you or for you. How were you employed? When were you employed? So these are the issues that we are talking about. But the basic point that will not be forgotten is that we have seen irregularities in this and we want to rectify them and give the people who actually qualify to be in our strategic employment.
Let me hear from Kingsley, then I'll go to Dr. Theo Champong. And Kingsley, there's a reason I spent a bit of time with him because his government is in power. Normally, the party representatives will say, give me the same time. It's not exactly the same. So you go on. Let's hear you.
Well, I thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. Good morning to viewers and listeners. I am saddened. I am saddened by this. And, well, it's good you were asking me those questions because those were my concerns. And then every question you asked was something I was going to talk about. Are we hearing here that they were padded when leaving the office? How did we come to that conclusion? It's a public service. Some of them are civil servants. You have to go through a process. At the interview, Public Service Commission was there. They would have to proffer their certificate. Some of them, you have to go to their institutions to confirm. Some of them have to go through their CV and confirm several other things before you conclude on that. And it's not just an individual. So how are we saying that they were just padded? And indeed, I heard here that for the 8 years, there was no recruitment, really. For the 8 years, there's no recruitment, really. It so happened that these recruitments occurred at the tail end. That's not to say that for the whole 8 years there was no recruitment. Let's be fair to all the facts here. Again, as I said, you commence the process, you go through it, and then you wait for financial clearance because the budget for 2004 has its period where it will end, because the public service, it doesn't include this fresh recruitment. So you have to wait for that as well. So you could not have employed anyone without financial clearance. Having gone through all that, the government now is saying that we don't have money. Is that good cause? It is not good cause. And in fact, we discussing it, any Tom, Dick, and Harry, which is hurt by this, we are discussing them. Only for my learned senior brother to now say that we haven't said that NDC members cannot reapply. Now when to say that EV NDC members were affected.
I brought that to his
attention. And I was going to ask that question.
He also confirmed that another
lady, yes. Are we talking party colors here? We're talking Ghanaians here. For you to make it, to bring that, it means that it confirms that earlier, before the election, confirms, and I have a lot of them here, MPP is recruiting people to security agencies. He talked about that, didn't he not? Into the security agencies, to which Honorable Henry Kote came to debunk that. Up to now, where's the proof for that? There's no proof.
Oh, but we heard Afenyo King at the vetting say that they actually give them protocol appointments.
But then did he say to MPP alone?
Now we know that Henry Korte was being untruthful.
But did he say that to MPP alone? That's the issue.
No, to everybody.
To everyone. So to say MPP, then Henry Korte is not telling a lie.
Okay.
Now, and I'm being worked up. I normally don't talk like this, but I'm being worked up because you see, you asked about the cycle. Should the cycle continue? And you said that senior citizens, like my learned senior brother, should be the one that we say he's doing it, and the but really does not sit well because you see, when someone has gone through the process and you're looking at it politically to target him, then you target your own folk, and that's what happened. That's why the leader approached you. And we all saw when after the change of government, people were rushing to institutions to say they should leave. There are videos. They should leave. And they've been here for too long. Their people too should also come. And this is a government institution. We are coming, we are going to 2025, we are going further. We shouldn't now we are making reference to 69, the no courts that the Prime Minister, how many years? 60 years? Come on. Let's be fair to Ghana. Your government said you are resetting. Is that a resetting? Now, I'm glad you talked about just when they're about to leave. We all know that the term of the government ends on the midnight of the 6th of January. To say that there cannot be any recruitment is also to say that then there can't be any other job done. There can't be anything. The government ceases on the 7th. In fact, the elections was announced on the 9th, isn't it? So why the 7th? This is the same government. You just read the statement of President Mahama, which says that they are organic. Why is it all of a sudden the tongue has changed into what we are seeing now? And then you're saying that it is only affecting those who are appointed or appointed from the 7th onwards. You just read documents. I have the concern of Mr. Techimensa. He sent me here. I've asked the producer to send it to you. Where he's appointed
to the
MPRA, 26 July 2023. Why are we doing this? 2023. This is what he's saying.
He said MPRA.
Yes. I went through the due process to be recruited, went through Public Service Commission interview, served probation period for 6 months, confirmed full-time, full staff, 2024. And then he had, because, you see, it brings all those political things. We all know Mr. Techimensa was involved in the Achikwesi case, all right? So it brings all of that. And where are we going to draw a line? You are saying that all those who were employed after the 7th of December. So now you are saying that everyone who's employed after that, because we suspect that some of them, their days were backdated, because we suspect that some of them didn't go through the due process, because we have some allegations. Therefore, everyone, that is capriciousness. That offense against the Constitution. Not just a law in here. The Constitution. Article 23 is clear. That's unfair. So everyone, why? If you really have proof that certain persons have not gone through the due process, bring that out. And then let them go through the due process. To say that they can reapply. So I haven't done anything wrong. By virtue of the fact that my date occurred on this day, having gone through the due process, it's revoked. I must reapply and I'll be allowed in.
As I'm mentioning to him, it's not even, the categories that go through Public Services Commission.
Yes.
There are others that, like the GRA,
yes, like Ezen Bank.
Let's say KPMG, or was it a Pricewaterhouse? They did that kind of recruitment over a long period.
Like Ezen Bank. There's another.
Well, and you also state what is supposed to be the fact and the procedure, which Ambassador was sort of trying to deny. That unless there is financial clearance, the recruitment will not be done. The employment will not be consummated. So for all these people, there was financial clearance. So the suggestion that
evidence of that.
You see, you have to.
Okay, that would be the presumption.
There's a presumption shown. Exactly. The presumption rather is the norm until the contrary is shown. Not that I am alleging that you have to come and prove yourself. That's not how we do. You know that. That's not how we do things. The presumption rather is the norm. I don't want to go into quote this Latin presumptive whatnot. We all do use that. And we're talking about the government institution. So there's a regularity that they've gone through the whole thing. It is you rather who would have to single this person out and say, you, Mr. A, B, or C, you didn't go through this, and so therefore that. But to say that we are drawing a line, everyone, we have to start afresh. That's illegal. That's against the person's constitutional right.
And even
to realize himself an article.
Even at law, if the individual is said not to have gone through a process, they will not be expected to have known that that process is what they should go through.
I was about to come to that.
Once the entity that employed them. I
was about to come to that. But let's say that notice was given to the government.
I'm getting
individuals.
I'm getting fresh, letters. Someone who was employed to the NHIS in August of 2024 also has got his appointment terminated. So
it is sad. You see, it is sad. You see, again, you are saying that. Malaysia is saying that we are touching on 24-hour. I think it's legitimate. You are saying that for every position there will be two in addition, so that everyone gets a job, so that we build the economy. Why is it that you will take those who are already in there away from the job bank? Why would you do that? When you are championing the cause of, that is why the people voted for you. And I am saddened by this in a way because, in another way, I'm thinking NDC is unraveling itself, its defectiveness very quickly, and probably, and also a benefit, you see? Because there's no government that I know of that has come into power, and then within 2 months of it coming to power, there's a strike. I haven't seen it. This government. And what was said at President Mahama's inauguration?
What strike are you referring to?
The clock strike.
Because somebody has been appointed as registrar to the birth and deaths, and they disagree that the person is politically exposed.
Exactly. And there's a Supreme Court case that says that when you are politically exposed.
Do you really think they will make a good point? If it's about people who are politically exposed,
I am saying,
among themselves, they say that they are not politically exposed.
I am saying that. No government that has come into power within the first 2 months, even as a communicator, I have said on other platforms that I'm giving NDC 6 months. And some of the appointments, I even commended that to the charging of my people, our own Dominica. I work with Dominica. I said this for the team that President Mahama has. This is the best person you can have for Attorney General. They stretch it to, I probably meant the Fourth Republic. We've had Obeda somewhere and all, Matalamedu and all. So I couldn't have said that. But even that, because I seem to be conciliatory to NDC, I have said that. But their father is okayed, whether or not they're able to make their case or not. Their father is okayed. And it's unraveling itself too quickly. Now you have a whole bunch of people, a lot of them. Oh, thank you. You've displayed that on because I had his blessings to do this. All right. And you have all of them now affected by this. Are we going forward or backwards? Are we still going to 69? Or I don't. When was that case? That's Saleh's case, isn't it? Saleh Attorney General's case. And say that because of that, in 60 years we should still stick with this. Let's not do this. The same government appointed Auditor General. The same government appointed Suraj. That was way after the elections. We did not come to remove them. We made noise about it, that because it's a constitutional position, you should have waited. But they had their right to do that. And nobody attempted to remove them just on the basis that the person was appointed at such a time.
What do you say to the NDC when they tell you that that you are most guilty and you are, like I put it, you may be said to be unfit to cast the first stone. Because the things you are complaining about, perhaps you did worse. What do you say to them?
West.
The worst, which one? The Auditor General?
No.
The Shraj?
No, when you, came
the worst?
when you came into office, the people you also threw away.
80,000.
Based
that's the question
on the fact that they were appointed from the 7th of January. No. You see, we always have to look at Ghana first.
But you, the politicians, don't do that.
He was looking at Gold Coast.
Wow.
We always look for Ghana first.
You are looking for Gold Coast.
Okay.
First.
Have you been able to convince yourself first, convince the people of Ghana that these withdrawals are proper? I think that's the topic.
But you did the same.
Yeah.
And
Are you now
didn't
saying by this
convince
question? Are you now saying that if, assuming without admitting that that was the case, that clothes you with the right to do what you are doing now?
Exactly not.
Precisely. And that's the focus of the discussion.
But I'm saying that's what they are telling you.
Yeah, but you can say whatever you want to say.
You
right?
don't have the moral right.
We do
to
have the moral
pontificate
right.
as you do. And I was looking at something really very interesting. In Afenyo Marking's letter, guess what? The case is using to persuade the president is the case that CDD put up a coalition to fight against the removal from office by President Akufo-Addo. He was using the Daniel Yao Domelevo case to persuade the president that the Supreme Court said it is wrong to do these things. And I even also suggested that there was this case of the Theophilus Donko, which Eduji Tamaklo conducted.
Yes.
Another way, unlawful removal of people perceived to be NDC from office.
But go back to some of the case at the Bank of Ghana. Go back to that thing.
I have said a number of times.
To see that it is not peculiar to one government.
No, and those are high office people. But I'm making the point to you that
the argument even made here seem to fuse the fact that some are political appointees and whatnot to public service appointees. It is fused. There is
the recruitment issue also. And in that area, I have pointed to the fact that I have actually been a lawyer in some of these cases where the NPP, first, the NDC came into office, and then there were people who had been recruited. They just drove them away. I had to go represent them. Then
when you represented them, what was the outcome?
The outcome was a positive outcome.
Precisely. So I think that is the focus.
The NPP managed to get back into power. They repeated the same thing. Also drove out the people they suspected to be NDC. I had to go and represent them again.
And the outcome was?
It was a good outcome because that is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, precisely. So why don't we focus on that? Why, if we are really resetting Ghana, why don't we focus on that? The fact that the right thing has to be done. You cannot say that everyone appointed from the 7th of January onwards, when even you were declared the president, 2 days or so after that. You cannot say that everyone appointed on that day is a pardon, and therefore everyone should go reapply because we suspect.
In one case,
that cannot be.
In one case, we through an injunction process stopped the state institution from removing those people unlawfully. After a long period when the case was dragging, as is normally the situation around, sometimes they constituted a process to make sure that those people were removed through due process. Then they brought in the NPP people to take over.
Sorry, I almost called you Matt. Sorry, Samson. You have said that they have gone through due process. Is that not the case? If due process is gone through, now it becomes a political question. Okay. Now, I'm glad that you have read the Honorable Majority Leader's letter. In fact, I think you put it up there. Do you see that is a political action. And so even the language in the letter is not, because that's the same thing the former vice president would do, appealing that because of this and that. That's a political thing. That you cannot approach the president and just speak to him because you want to achieve a political result, isn't it? So you have to appeal to you have to stroke, like we do in court. You stroke the judge's ego and you do all that. That is the bottom line is that this is wrong. What is wrong is wrong.
Okay. Dr. Theo Champong, thank you for joining us. Tell us what you think about what is going on and whether you will join Dr. Bawumia's appeal to President Mahama to withdraw Julius Debra's, letter generally removing too many people. In the fire service alone, I'm told about 3,000 people, they went through the due process and were recruited in, when was that? They were recruited in December of 2023. Hello, Doc.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Doc.
Yes. Good morning. My apologies. I'm not on video today due to other reasons.
That's okay.
But look, I've just been listening to the input from my brother Kingsley and then from Uncle Sam and the other lady there whom I didn't hear earlier. But, I was just laughing here because at the latter part of your conversation, you put very interesting questions to Kingsley, right? That, well, we've seen this thing happen before in 2016, and you can go back to earlier periods where immediately on the resumption of a new government, certain caliber of appointees, whether they are in the civil or whether they are in the public service, are asked to sort of either step aside or they will say, okay, we're going to do some investigations, etc. And then after that, we may decide to call you or not. And I think for me, and this has happened regardless of the fact that they went through quote unquote, right, due process. And the question that you were really asking for me goes to the heart of the whole duplicitous nature of our politics. If we had reversed this 4 years or even 8 years ago, and I'm sure we can go back to old Newsfile and other tapes where similar discussions and conversations were being had here, except that the roles were changed, right? On the other side, you would have had NDC and MPP, and the same arguments would have been made that, these things are not fair and we have to go through and do the right thing and all of that. And it goes, for me, I'm looking at it really from the impact on the public payroll, one, and then I would also speak about it in terms of, what we should be doing, right, going forward. Nobody denies that we need more doctors, we need more teachers, we need more civil servants, so to say, right? But then they also have to go through a certain process in terms of those appointments. But in the context of an IMF program that we're running, and you look at the expenditure items that the government has, after paying off your debt or servicing your debt, the next biggest item on there is the emolument and salaries, right? And you would have to do something in terms of trimming, but also in terms of ensuring that there's efficiency savings within that. I am personally not for the whole mass targeting or the mass letter, but I can understand the logic behind that, especially when after the 7th of December, it looks often as though, you can even go back to earlier administrations, the governments then are in a rush to quote unquote regularize certain appointments that they should have done much earlier. That's right. Because suddenly they are going out of power. And there are some people that we should have actually maybe 6 months earlier, maybe a year earlier, giving them proper employment contracts and all of that. And so there's this panic to ensure that those people have those appointments. And you have a process then that these all add up or cascades and have an impact on the payroll. So I think then what ought to be done for me, first thing, is it needs a more nuanced and a more targeted approach. The whole mass approach perhaps doesn't work. So for sure, we need an audit of all these appointments. I would even probably even extend it to 2 months even before the election and not just after 7th of December, right? That's the first thing. I also then think that in the context of that audit, we need to be very sure that every one of those people that have been employed, quote and unquote, went through that due process, financial clearance, authorization, all of those things, right? Ultimately, what will happen is that some people would be re-employed back and some would not be, employed back. I got a letter or an email yesterday from, I think it was and they were complaining hard. Some of them
we had a little
went through.
Doc. We had a little difficulty with your line.
Sorry.
You said you got a letter from who?
Okay, so there's an email that I got from newly posted teachers.
Yes, we got it. We have it.
They were complaining.
Yeah.
You have it. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, they're saying that they went through all the due processes and all of that, and this started as far back as a couple of months before, and therefore the letter asking for the revocation and the subsequent revocation perhaps comes across as being a bit, unfair. I think then what we need, right, again, going back, is we need some certain timelines. By what time do we expect, one, the auditing that is going on to be completed, and so these people to have a certain sense of assurance or certainty that, for example, by the end of March or April, we know we've completed a process and you can either reapply or you don't even need to reapply. You just come and start from where you are or where you left off right from. Right. But the other point that I also wanted to really make, which again, I was really, laughing at is we need to change the laws within the country. People say that, yeah, of course, the government runs until the midnight of the 6th of the 7th of 6th of January.
Yes, that's so.
When the new government takes over. I think that for certain caliber of appointment, I would argue that the laws somewhat be amended, so we put a limit that 2 months before the expiration of the term of a government, you cannot recruit into certain categories of within the public or even the civil service.
Doc,
number two,
what
it would have to.
What happened to common sense and reasonability? Must our lives be regulated by law every inch?
Oh, but something, our people and what we are dealing with in terms of the political economy.
They will still abuse it. If you tell them that don't make appointments or recruitment 2 months to elections, they will plan all of it and do it perhaps 4 months before.
No, but at least you are certain and you're sure that they are not rushing to do or regularize things that they should have done hitherto, right? One. Number two, you also would be certain or sure that the potential impact on the public payroll, right, would have all been costed within the relevant financial or fiscal architecture of the country. And that is a very important point.
Okay.
Now all these new appointments that have been made, you have to cost it. They have to be put on the payroll. It's going to have an impact. And when you have limited revenues and other expenditure line items that you have to deal with, it can be a major problem for us. So I think for me, I'm for the auditing, and the auditing is the first step. But a more nuanced approach, a targeted approach, is needed rather than the mass dismissal.
In a minute, tell me this: during the transition, the incoming administration flagged this issue, actually issued a statement, and then the outgoing administration also issued a statement calling their bluff and saying that we are in government until midnight, the 6th of January. Do you think they should have listened at that point at least?
Oh, they were all playing politics. That's the the reality, right? And you and I actually know that these recruitments, these appointments, some new ones or new letters were being done or issued post December 2017, right? And some last minute appointments were being made. You see, we're even talking about the teachers and all of that. But I'm sure if you go into some of the state-owned enterprises, and these are governed by slightly different laws, because some of them have their own laws that are set up.
Right.
I won't be shocked if after the audit we find that there are even new names that have been added to certain payroll than hitherto was the case.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Dr. Theo Champong. Let me come back here for a minute each of some responses and reactions. Begin with you again, Rodolin. So, I don't know. What do you have to say? I saw you writing, making notes.
All that we've said here this morning are normal things that are expected of us. But we do know that what is out there is abnormal. What we've been living with for the past 8 years has been abnormal. We are in this country. It's not like we're strangers. We hear, we listen. People tell us. You know very well that some people get their jobs not because they are qualified, but because they know somebody. And how come it is that it's always the political elites who have their children and their siblings and their whatever in GRA, GNPC, what? Look at the list. If you want, go and look at the list. Very high profile jobs. And at the end of it, those are the jobs that are being given last minute. What does that tell you? We should not sit back and look at the situation and think that because this is the norm. Look, the Constitution is there for us to follow. That same Constitution was written. Sometimes I tell myself, I said the Constitution is not bad. It is the people who have been empowered by that Constitution who do not use their common sense that is bad. And they make the Constitution to be bad. And so if you have the power to elect people, or you have the power to promote people, and because you feel that you have the power, you just go promoting without sitting back to see the repercussions that those promotions are going to bring. That is what happens. We were in this country. Our president jumped a senior military officer. 2 intakes or 3 intakes were left behind because he wanted a particular person to be the chief of army staff. Do you know what happened to the rest of the army people who were there? The kinds of confusion that particular thing happened. He's going away. Then he makes them again 4-star generals. Ask yourself, Ghana, as we sit, are we prepared for those kinds of things? A 4-star general, a 3-star general. You are giving that position to an incoming government. And you know very well that we are in serious trouble. We are in debt. We cannot even pay our debts. Why is it that simple common sense could not advise us that we are leaving? So, if we have a list of people we want to employ, and we have gone through and seen that His Excellency John Mahama has won, the NDC is saying they are coming with 60 ministers and they are going to collapse ministries.
But by 7th December, they didn't know they were leaving.
By 7th December?
Before 7th December, they didn't know they were leaving. You say that they ought to know that they are leaving, so they don't do certain things.
But Nanado's tenure of office
keep on coming
was
up with
there
what I want to
at
see.
the end, 7th December. Whether he was going to come back or not is no question. It was either going to be Bawumia or Mahama. But Nanado, as a person, was not going to come back again. He should have left whatever it was for either Bawumia to come and do it or for Mahama to come and do it. But
so again, I ask the question, should the president be issuing a directive for all these institutions? Because I doubt that the president will know that all these small institutions around are making, recruitments.
A good president must be briefed and must know what is happening
everywhere.
You must have your ears everywhere, or at least.
Is that not saddling the president with too much?
I don't think so. The president is able to go to 275 constituencies. Now it's 276. He talks to everybody. So why will this one be too much for him. He should be able to handle it. And you see, when you say we should avoid political retaliation goes hand in hand with loyalty to the ruling government in view of their policies and programs. But we are in this country. Even now, as I said, as I was coming, there was somebody on a social media handle. Oh, and then John Mahama has taken 1 billion and we don't know what he has done with it. Within 40 days of a government coming in power. We cannot continue to sit back and pretend that this country is so polarized that we have the NDC, the MPP, and because of all these things, whatever happens, at the end of the day, it is people that we are dealing with.
You are simply saying what has happened.
What has happened?
The MPP government brought it upon itself, what the president is doing is correct. It's okay.
That's what I am saying. I'm saying that even from where I sit, I am saying, and listening to all, look, we've been on programs, we've read, some people do not deserve to be where they are. And the only way to fish them out is to ask them to leave so that you look through the books and they reapply.
Okay. Ambassador Sampi Ali.
Well, I am very saddened that my good brother, Techi Benson, is the one whose appointment is on the screen. Termination is on the screen. Because Techi Benson himself knew how he was employed at MPRA. And that there were people occupying his position before he came there. And he knows how he was employed.
How was he employed?
It's not a subject matter of discussion.
But you were
the head of that institution at a certain point. What's the point?
All I can say is that somebody was there before he came after Nanado's employment. So
Nanado's election.
Election, yes.
Okay.
Sorry. So I'm saddened that he has put himself into this box.
Are the political organizations criminal organizations? People shouldn't join them.
Samson, I mean, this one, you are overreaching. How can you describe the political organizations as criminal? You know, people join...
So what is anybody's crime if they join a party?
There's nothing wrong. So that's why...
They simply shouldn't lose power.
That's why I'm sad. That's why I'm sad that you are calling us criminals. Because you know that I'm not a criminal, Sam. Sam, you know that I'm not a criminal. The issue is that everybody joins a political party with an aspiration. You understand? That, being a social democrat, if I follow John Mahama, I'll be able to be in his government to support his agenda. That's why we join political parties. Now, you, 6 months or 3 months before, were opposing his vision. You were employed by the forceful removal of some person, the same table you are going to sit on. Now they do it to you. You know, Samson, I know your fancy is not good. And we are dealing with Techi Benson, isn't it? But there's a fancy proverb that says, Abaya wodi bo Techi, wodi boba. So what you are saying?
Yo, what's the boba?
What's the boba?
Them ban over here. Them ban over here. Them ban over here.
You see, when you see that,
you know that most of these people, if they take suits, they will be vindicated by the courts to the effect that there has been a regular process of recruitment and they have been recruited. They'll be vindicated by the court. But you and I know that the courts will often not say you are reinstated. In certain situations, you are reinstated because even if you get to be reinstated, you yourself, you will not be comfortable at the workplace because of what has happened to you.
That's another matter for
So once again, I'm coming back to this.
Yes.
Afenyomarking acknowledges this and the fact that a court case can delay for so long, and maybe by the time the court says you are right, like it happened to Domelevo, it was too late. Should the president, please look inside yourself again. Should the president not reset properly by saying, all of you stay at post?
Fortunately, I'm not the president. The president who has the right to take the decision has taken it.
The president listens to you people.
He has, but he has taken the decision and given some window of opportunity for people to do what they have to do. You see?
So help me understand this.
Yes.
If the recruitment process is reopened, if it is ever reopened. Is it the suggestion that those people who have been dismissed will be given the first rights of application and consideration, and perhaps that the process of vetting and so on may be waived for them?
We have constructed a bridge. Now they have to come and cross. And I know what you are saying when people go through the process. You are lawyers. We are lawyers. We are there to support them. So I am not going to bastardize a government decision that I understand has good rationale. You know, you are sitting here. You are quoting me. 7th May 2017, 13,000 workers. Bam.
Did you bastardize that?
Me.
Did you condemn that?
You know me, I don't talk.
You did.
Did you hear me?
Yes, you did.
Yes, if I did. You see, Samson, let me retract. You remember Professor Moss? Professor Moss.
Correct.
He sat there and I said, no, this cycle must be broken. But once there's a cycle, it means that there's a starting point. Right. Get people to be doing this and that. But the results, we all saw it. The result. This country is being run on votes.
The claim is that President Mills broke that cycle,
Yes.
but it was not reciprocated.
MPP reinstated it.
Therefore, it must continue.
Wow, Samson, you see, what if it is done to you, you will not like, you don't do it to others. And when it is done to you, then you start complaining. That's not the logic of culture.
But you are preaching that right now, that karma is justice. Karma is injustice.
Well, I have not said karma is justice. But what I'm saying is this. Somebody tried to break the jinx. You came, you instated it. And why is it that if it's against MPP, then the constitution has been broken? If it's against MPP, then something is wrong.
Okay.
This Tejibansen.
Are you sure that if the MPP comes to power, this will not happen again?
Samson, let me say two things. One is that the gentleman, Techi Benson, wants you to call him now to react to something he said. I don't know if you allow that. Secondly, you haven't been able to establish that someone was removed for Techi Benson to get a job. You haven't been able to establish that. Two, you were talking about promotions rather than employment. Two different things.
Me?
No, my very beautiful.
And those that were labeled as casual staff, and then once you are going away, you make them permanent. That's what she was talking about.
No, she's talking about promotion from 3-star to 4-star.
That was the final.
Right. That's a different discussion we'll have together. Ghana hasn't had 4-star general for some time.
Never.
When we were talking about issues, Ghana's population was how many? What is the reason for Nigerians having 4-star generals and we're not having it? It's not population.
276.
Yes, but it's not population.
300 million.
So why is the Americans have 5-star general and other countries do not have? Isn't it because of so there has to be a reason for that, and probably we have to interrogate that reason and then see whether it's right or wrong. But here we talk about employment and the fact that a line has been drawn, and then you ask a very poignant question: that would there be a waiver for the people? What are we waiving? He's gone through the process. He's ticked all the boxes. He's been employed. You can't say, come and let's do the same thing again. At whose expense? The state's expense. We're going to call someone else. At even at his expense. Look at the emotional trauma and all that he's going through. So I don't even want us to discuss party colors. It's the fact that the right thing must be done.
Yeah.
What's the right thing?
If
the right thing is...
If the MPP comes to power, these things will not recur.
I am saying the right thing must be done.
We know that the template,
Precisely.
the template is always what it is.
Why are you getting me to transport myself to 2028 when we are sure we are coming? When we are sure we are coming, and say that not knowing who is going to be our flag bearer, not knowing who is going to be the president, when he comes, this is what is in his mind. That
No,
cannot
the
come as
party
God.
must
What I'm
have done
saying that, yeah, but then the party is saying that this is wrong. That's
the
all.
principle.
Yes,
The principle.
the party is saying this is wrong.
Ask the
And so
simple question. That's a simple
if the
question.
party is wrong,
Don't dance around the question.
Okay, so Kingsley, let me put it
Allow
this
him
way.
to
Kingsley,
moderate,
will you
please.
condemn it if the NPP comes to power and these things happen again? Will you condemn it?
Yes. Would you?
I will not discuss something that is okay in the future. That is not the proper question
I
to
want to know what your principles are.
My principles are what is wrong. I've already said that.
You said if
My
it happened
principles are-
yesterday, it should not be repeated today.
Precisely. We shouldn't go to 1969.
So if
Definitely
NPP
shouldn't go to
wins
1969.
power,
Yes.
if NPP wins power,
Yes.
this will not be repeated. If it is repeated, you will condemn it.
I am saying what is wrong.
You heard my question.
I've answered your question. You cannot be.
Okay.
You cannot be.
So let me read some messages.
You cannot be putting me
Let me read some
in a
messages.
box and say that
Let me read some
comment
messages.
on
We
what
take
will
a break.
happen in the next 4 years.
Right, let me
when
read some
are sure we
messages.
are
We
coming.
take a break.